That haunts you more.
You can definitely say what the hell you like on this show. It's called Uncensored for a reason.
I think you say what you want to say, and to hell with the consequences. You got to be willing to fight for your rights and fight for what you believe in.
You can't tell me with your accent that me as an American, Jew, black person, that I cannot question.
When someone gets on a national platform like that, and it's said with everyone, I guess now he's gonna have to regulate that.
Piers Morgan built his brand on being uncensored, the guy who tells it like it is. But what happens when uncensored lets itself get censored? And not by just anyone, by two of hip-hop's most powerful figures, Jay-Z and Beyoncé. In a move that left the hip-hop world side-eyeing his so-called integrity, Piers allowed his no-filter image to be filtered, erased, and controlled.
Their lawyers contacted us to say that those claims were totally false and have no basis in fact, and we've therefore complied with the legal request to cut them from the original interview. Editing interviews is not something we do lightly at a show called...
It's no secret that Piers Morgan has had a shady history with hip-hop. He's taken shots at icons like Kanye West, disrespected Ice Cube's push for real issues, and has repeatedly rubbed the hip-hop community the wrong way with his criticisms.
You can definitely say what the hell you like on this show. It's called Uncensored for a reason.
But Ice Cube wasn't the first to call him out for being two-faced. Hip-hop's message has always been about authenticity, about the fight to say what needs to be said, and for Piers, he just never seemed to get that.
You can't tell me with your accent that me as an American, Jew, black person, that I cannot question.
For context, in a recent interview on Piers' show, uncensored Jaguar Wright went off. She started by addressing Piers' question about whether she felt vindicated after Diddy's recent legal troubles. Despite the charges against him, she made it clear she didn't feel any relief. For her, the process of accountability was just beginning.
Do you feel vindicated by the events of the last few weeks?
No, not at all. Because he's just the beginning.
She explained that Diddy was just the tip of the iceberg, a figurehead for a deeply rooted culture of exploitation in the music industry. Jaguar spoke openly about her personal experiences. Having been in the industry for over 30 years, she shared stories of her elders, warning her to avoid certain people. But even that advice wasn't enough to protect her from the trauma she endured. Decades later, she still suffered from PTSD, and what troubled her most was hearing younger women recounting the same kinds of abuse.
You live through these things, you're still suffering the PTSD created by all of this, and you're talking to a victim that's 20 years younger than you, and she's telling you the exact same thing that happened to you.
This, she explained, made Diddy and his actions even more dangerous. The harm continued across generations, protected by the industry's silent complicity. A large part of the interview focused on the toxic culture that Jaguar said had been allowed to thrive under powerful figures like Diddy. She didn't just speak from her own experience, she also described what she had seen during her time in the industry, including when she worked as a dominatrix before landing her record deal. This gave her a unique understanding of how the entertainment industry and S-World often intersected. Jaguar didn't hold back. She detailed the horrifying behaviors she had either witnessed or heard about, including ritualistic practices, drugging women, and treating them like disposable objects. The scale of the abuse, hidden by NDAs and hush money, kept it out of the public's view for years.
And it's all done under the protection of, this is going to be paid off. There's another NDA. This is going to be, it's terrible.
Jaguar pointed out that many people knew what was happening. Many knew, but nobody was brave enough to speak out. And if they did, they weren't believed. This culture of silence, she insisted, had protected P. Dadors like Diddy for far too long. One of the most disturbing parts of Jaguar's claims was the idea that Diddy was selected for his role. She argued that he had been specifically chosen to help maintain control over the black community in the entertainment world.
People keep looking at him like he's the Sputnik that came out of nowhere. This is someone who was designed to be what he is. We gotta stop making Diddies.
Jaguar didn't just point the finger at Diddy. She also named people like Clive Davis and Lucian Grange, saying they helped Diddy rise to power and shielded him from the consequences of his actions. According to her, Diddy was handpicked to manipulate and exploit the precious jewels of black culture for the industry's profit, leaving behind a trail of broken lives. Jaguar believed that Diddy's recent silence wasn't because of loyalty, but out of fear. His powerful backers, the people who had protected him for years, still found it useful to keep him quiet. But she predicted that eventually, his ego and drug addiction would force him to speak. When that happened, she warned, it would be devastating for those who had been complicit in his actions.
His ego and his drug addiction won't allow him to do anything different. Anybody who thinks he's not going to talk is crazy. He's got everybody on tape. They all know it.
When Piers asked if Diddy would eventually expose others, Jaguar didn't hesitate to say yes. She believed that Diddy would have no choice but to talk, and when he did, he would take down many high-profile figures with him. In her view, his silence so far was only temporary. She made it clear that what the public had seen was just the beginning, and the truth would be far more disturbing than anyone could imagine. The moment that episode aired, sources claim Jay-Z's legal team immediately pressured Piers to take it down and issue an apology. But this isn't just a lawsuit threat. Rumors say Jay's threats went way beyond legal action. Piers Morgan, known for his bold opinions and confrontational style, stunned fans when he apologized to Jay-Z and Beyoncé following Jaguar Wright's explosive interview. The apology left fans wondering just how powerful is Jay-Z that even someone like Piers, who never backs down, folded so quickly. Was it just a legal issue, or is there something much deeper behind the scenes? But here's where it gets interesting. When the show aired, Jaguar's raw statements about Jay-Z.
And you're talking to a victim that's 20 years younger than you, and she's telling you the exact same thing that happened to you.
Right, there's been a lot of rumor mill.
People immediately noticed, fans were furious, and Jaguar's supporters demanded to know why Piers would silence her on a show called Uncensored. Piers responded by saying,
Their lawyers contacted us to say that those claims were totally false and have no basis in fact, and we've therefore complied with the legal request to cut them from the original interview. Editing interviews is not something we do lightly at a show called Uncensored.
But fans were not the only ones calling out Piers. When Dame Dash was asked about Jaguar Wright's explosive statements that took over national headlines, he didn't hold back. Although he didn't agree with everything Jaguar said, Dame made it clear that some of her claims align with his own experiences. For him, her words hit close to home.
I'm not going to say she's completely accurate all the time, but some of the things she said were things that I was actually thinking, but I was like, I could never say that because people would say I'm hating.
Dame went on to reveal that some of Jaguar's accusations struck a familiar chord, especially with certain names she mentioned, names that seem to come up repeatedly whenever dark industry secrets are exposed. The thing they all have in common is R. Kelly, Puff, Weinstein, Epstein. When someone gets on a national platform like that and says what everyone's thinking, it gets real. Now he's gonna have to regulate that. For Dame, Jaguar's willingness to bring up these names on a national stage is a bold move, but it also comes with risks. Her words, he suggests, could be powerful enough to make people uncomfortable. And when that happens, the industry's gatekeepers might step in to control the narrative.
When someone gets on a national platform like that, and it's said where everyone, I guess now he's gonna have to regulate that.
Another person who has spoken up is Oshino. According to him, Jay-Z's alleged lawsuit against Piers Morgan only goes to prove that there was some truth in what Jaguar was saying.
I think suing to make it look like she's telling the truth.
Anyway, while Jaguar Wright's interview raised eyebrows about Piers' selective coverage, Ice Cube took a bold stand in his own interview with Piers, indirectly calling out the host for his double standards when it comes to free speech. Ice Cube didn't hold back, reminding Piers and viewers that true freedom of speech requires courage, no matter who's watching or who might be offended.
I think you say what you want to say, and to hell with the consequences. You got to be willing to fight for your rights and fight for what you believe in.
Cube emphasized that anyone who claims to value free speech has to live it, not just when it's convenient or profitable. He argued that real courage comes from speaking your mind openly, even if it means facing backlash.
And if you're a person who believes in freedom of speech, you have to fight and say what you feel and let the chips fall where they may. and stand on that.
Cube acknowledged that standing by one's beliefs isn't easy. There's often a price to pay, especially in an industry where powerful voices can silence others. But he made it clear that staying silent only leads to regret. It may not be an easy road, but I think you feel better about yourself when you say what needs to be said at the time it needs to be said, not afterwards where you go home and think, I should have said this when that guy was there, or when I was there, I should have said that. That hurts you more. Piers tried to counter Ice Cube's point, claiming his show was uncensored. But Cube's words lingered.
That haunts you more.
You can definitely say what the hell you like on this show. It's called Uncensored for a reason.
Piers' defense couldn't overshadow Cube's message. If you're committed to free speech, you have to live by it without fear or favor. In any case, this was something Kanye West too would experience firsthand. The interview between Kanye West and Piers Morgan was more than a clash of personalities. It was a collision of worldviews, each pushing back on the other. Kanye, unfiltered as ever, came ready to address everything from race issues to censorship in the media. But Piers wasn't about to let Kanye control the narrative.
Do you have friends that were locked up? Do you have people aborting half your race? No. So I am the black person with the black experience that's worth $11 billion and is the most influential person on the planet. And I am questioning it.
Kanye made it clear that his perspective as a black American and a high-profile artist gave him a unique view. He wasn't asking for permission to question societal norms. He was demanding it.
You can't tell me with your accent that me as an American, Jew, black person, that I cannot question that death.
But as Kanye tried to explain his stance, Piers continuously interrupted, trying to steer the interview back to his own agenda. Kanye wasn't having it though. He fired back, telling Piers he was also going to ask questions, flipping the power dynamic.
No, I said answer my question. No, I'm interviewing you too.
As the interview escalated, it was clear that Kanye's words weren't just about the issues. They were a statement against the system that decides who gets to speak freely and who doesn't. His message resonated with fans who saw Piers' tactics as an attempt to silence voices that disrupt the status quo. Meanwhile, after seeing how Piers edited her interview, Jaguar Wright was furious. She took to social media, calling Piers out for betraying her trust and selling her out to protect Jay-Z and Beyonce. Now, to be fair to Piers, the reason he backtracked and threw Jaguar under the bus was because Jay-Z and Beyonce threatened him with a lawsuit for talking about them. And clearly, Piers didn't want to mess with the Carters, so he caved pretty quickly. But why did they choose now to respond to Jaguar's stories? I mean, Jaguar has been airing out their secrets for a long time and has told all kinds of shocking stories about them. When Cassie sued Diddy, most people focused on Diddy, until Jaguar stepped in with some bold claims about Jay-Z being involved in Diddy's shady business, and even went as far as to say he's actually worse than Diddy.
Sean Carter is worse. He's smarter. He's patient. He's not sloppy.
Jaguar went on, saying, he's been lining up people he calls friends and stepping to the side while they get hit by the guillotine for 30 years. If you're wondering why she seems to have so much beef with Jay-Z, there might actually be a reason. In an interview, Jaguar claimed that Jay-Z once tried to unalive her back when she was singing backup for him. She says he came at her with a whole box cutter.
Sean Carter is just as bad as the diddler. And I know that for a fact. The scars to prove it.
In the interview, she got pretty graphic, describing what it felt like when Jay-Z allegedly attacked her. You want to know what a box cutter feels like going into your skin and ripping? I'll tell you how it feels. When asked if she was really saying Jay-Z put hands on her, she replied, I'm saying Sean Carter remembers everything he did to me, and he's got it on tape. Just like Diddy. That's definitely the type of thing most people hold a grudge over, especially since she's claiming he tried to take her life. It's safe to say Jaguar and the Carters won't be exchanging Christmas cards anytime soon. Whenever she gets a chance, she spills the tea on them. So when it was announced she'd be on Piers Morgan's show, everyone knew it was going to be messy. And Jaguar did not disappoint. In the interview, she dropped another bombshell, saying that Jay-Z was allegedly behind the entire #MeToo movement. According to her, Jay-Z needed to take down R. Kelly to cover up his own ties to Kelly's crimes. And get this, she says Jay-Z even funded the movement just to keep his own name clear and bury any evidence that could connect him to Kelly. Well, because the Me Too movement was a ruse. It was a setup. It was a scam. I'm saying that now publicly, she said, then added. Dream Hampton spearheaded the Surviving R. Kelly campaign, which fueled the Me Too campaign. And that was all funded by Sean Carter to make sure that Robert Kelly went to jail, to get his lick back. Why is nobody understanding that Dream Hampton was being financed and run by Sean Carter? They were able to get all these witnesses because he was there with Robert Kelly, she continued, questioning why Jay-Z never faced any real questions about his connections to Kelly and Aaliyah, saying, how does Jay-Z sit down with Gayle King and she not ask him one question about the intersection between him, Aaliyah, and Robert Kelly? This is insane that people keep refusing to see what's right there. Jaguar Wright then added that the movement has been strangely quiet as Diddy faces his own downfall. It's a wild claim, but it's been making people think twice, especially since there have been rumors that R. Kelly has been saying Jay-Z set him up all along. For context, in the wake of his sentencing to 30 years in prison for ST and racketeering, the disgraced singer recently filed an appeal in his New York federal S-Crimes case. Documents obtained by TMZ revealed that the 56-year-old artist had put forth multiple arguments in his bid to overturn his conviction, ranging from assertions of a potentially biased jury to claims of being misled about the ages of the minors he had relationships with. The appeal, filed by his attorney Jennifer Bonjean, sought to have the convictions reversed or to secure a new trial. Kelly's legal team contended that the government had failed to meet its burden of proof during the trial, despite the jury finding him guilty on all counts following nearly 6 weeks of proceedings. A key point in Kelly's appeal was the allegation that at least 2 jurors had watched Surviving R. Kelly, a documentary released in 2019 which featured accounts from his accusers. His lawyers argued that this documentary, funded by Jay-Z and allegedly provided to the jurors, could have biased their judgment, especially given Kelly's legal history with Jay-Z. Moreover, Kelly disputed the ages of the girls involved, claiming that some were at least 18 years old when their interactions with him began. His legal team asserted that in cases where the girls were minors, Kelly had been misled about their ages. Kelly's defense also contested the admissibility of certain evidence presented during the trial, arguing that irrelevant details about his personal life unfairly influenced the jury. They maintained that discussions about his history, preferences, and past relationships were prejudicial and unrelated to the charges he faced. Additionally, Kelly raised objections to the testimony provided by his former associates, alleging that they had misrepresented facts and testified on matters beyond their knowledge. Now, selling out people is not something that is new to Jay-Z. In fact, he even betrayed his best friend DeHaven Irby back in the day. In fact, DeHaven was so scarred by the betrayal that he warned all of Jay's closest pals to be on the lookout.
You know, it was so easy for Jay to turn his back on me. You think Dame stood a chance? You think Jazzo stood a chance? You think Source Money stood a chance? You think all the rest of them, you think they stood a chance?
In a 2007 interview with Vulture, Irby revealed that much of the life Jay-Z rapped about, he didn't actually live. He insinuated that the Brooklyn rapper was a low-level dealer and nothing like the kingpin Jigga portrayed himself to be. I'm telling you, he over-exaggerates. He was there to see things, but doing some big-time Frank Lucas type thing? No, Irby explained. He nickeled and dimed, but nothing on a major scale. He definitely didn't sell nothing in Marcy. Spanish Jose, who he mentions a lot in his songs, was a friend of mine. Jay didn't have no affiliation to Spanish Jose. The former coke dealer even alluded to Jay-Z admitting that he appropriated Irby's life. He's been talking about me since day one on a lot of his albums. He mentioned me on the Black Album and I hadn't seen him in years. DeHaven Irby has been a public critic of his former best friend Jay-Z for years. When he was released from prison, he sounded off in a series of YouTube videos about how Jay had abandoned him in 1998 when he was hit with federal drug conspiracy charges. Last year, Irby accused the first hip-hop artist to become a billionaire of working with the feds. People should know that some hip-hop artists have beaten federal cases by becoming government informants, Irby said. As far as the affiliation with him, Jay-Z dealing with government informants, that's no secret at all. Do I think it's crazy that nobody brings that subject up? Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, of course they affiliating with them people, Irby said during an interview on the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. The more I look at it, and the more I understand it more and more, that's why I'm not a part of that. It seems to be clearer and clearer each time. It would have been impossible for Jay-Z to avoid doing prison time if he wasn't working with the feds, Irby said. It's just impossible for me to understand how they don't have Jay and they got all these conversations with him. It just don't make sense. It'll never make sense to me. Irby added that Roc Nation's willingness to hire Desiree Perez as chief operating officer in 2008 and promote her to CEO in 2019, despite knowing she was a government informant in the 1990s, is further proof that the revered hip-hop company is in bed with the US government. What else you gonna do? When you working with them, what else you gonna do? She gonna be around. That's what's just like suspicious to me. Homegirl got a strong position in there and it's crazy that you know her background and you know what we stand for. So it's just self-explanatory. You gotta be working with them, Irby continued. Far as I'm concerned, Roc Nation is run by the government. Irby went on to say, I'll call a spade all day. At the end of the day, there's no way possible you can sit and tell me on my case that they ain't got no conversations with Jay Heavy at all. It don't make no sense. At some point, they got a hold of him and he's been working ever since. In any case, why can't hip-hop stand Piers Morgan? It's simple. He's shown time and again that he's more interested in keeping his powerful friends happy than telling the truth. Whether it's censoring Jaguar Wright or dismissing Kanye West, Piers has proven he's willing to choose sides. And in the world of hip-hop, where loyalty and authenticity are everything, that's a choice he may never recover from. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.